All right, for more on this, we're joined now by National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd. Brandon, you just heard Dana Marie McNichols report there from Eagle Pass, where I've spent pretty much the majority of the back end of 2023. The numbers are down right now, but I'm not buying it that it's about to slow significantly down, as Secretary Blinken was telling a bunch of dignitaries from Mexico that they've had a recent drop, and it's likely a trend that's going to be going forward. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I smiled because I know how long you have been down there reporting on this, and it's great to see you down there every single time. Our agents are very happy to see reporters down there actually talking about this. But when we talk about Blinken, when we talk about Mayorkas, when we talk about meetings with Mexican officials, they're just not going to prove fruitful. We know that we can control everything that happens here. Then, of course, you listen to what President Biden said. He said the border's not secure, but then he talks about the wrong thing. He talks about money. We don't need money for this issue. If President Biden was seriously concerned about this issue, all he would have to do is give us policy. He doesn't have to have Congress give us laws. Yes, it would be nice to have those laws because that's a long-term fix, but President Biden could fix this immediately with policy. We saw that with President Trump. It was brilliant what he did to drop illegal immigration to 45-year lows. Biden could do the exact same thing. He doesn't have to have Congress step in.
It's interesting and worth pointing out, I think, Brandon, that in that moment that you saw in Lucas Tomlinson's report, President Biden saying, no, the border's not secure. It hasn't been for 10 years. And he says he's been saying that ever since. Well, here's a little bit of what his administration has been saying for him. Stands quite in contrast. Watch.
I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open.
The border is secure.
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else.
So let's just set the record straight. Is the border open or is it closed? Is it secure or is it insecure, Brandon?
So what we have to talk about when we talk about an open border is who controls it, what sections are being controlled. And right now, there are sections of our border that are being controlled by the cartels. All you have to do is look at the got-away numbers, look at the amount of drugs that are on our streets today. That clearly shows that the border is not secure, and then look at how the cartels operate. They flood our resources, pull our agents out of the field, can create gaps in our coverage, and that's when they cross their higher value products. That clearly shows that the border is not secure. That's the evidence. Those are facts. Those facts are irrefutable, and those facts clearly show that the border is not secure and that the border is in fact open at specific times that the cartels want to open the border.
And when you hear the administration saying that they're doing things now to bring these numbers down, my sources in the Darien Gap in Panama, the Panamanian immigration folks, if you will, tell me as recent as yesterday that they are seeing a trend. They are expecting a greater number of migrants coming in 2024 than in 2023, which was record-breaking. What are you hearing?
Yeah, all of our intel points that everything is going up. Look at the past 2 days. We just surpassed 5,000 apprehensions of the Border Patrol alone. CBP as a whole, just under 7,000 apprehensions in the last 2 days. Those numbers are going to continue to go up. If you look at what our numbers are in December compared to past Decembers, we're at record-breaking levels. So yes, the numbers are going to continue to go up. The only thing that is going to drive these numbers down is if the cartels recognize that President Trump is going to be very, very bad for them. This is a business. They recognize that they have to generate profit. Do they scale back, trying to make this less of an issue for President Biden going into 2024? Or do they just continue saying, hey, it's a foregone conclusion, Trump is going to win, let's generate as much profit as we can right now? It's all up to the cartels. The Mexican government is not going to do anything. They have no incentive to do anything right now because of the amount of money that goes into their economy based upon illegal immigration and drug smuggling.
And lastly, Brandon, before we run out of time here, when are we going to get that official number? I was able to break with my sources that we got 302,000 migrants apprehended in the month of December, but yet here we are on January 20th, and they still haven't released the official number.
Yeah, DHS always hides those numbers because they don't want the American public to understand what's going on. They don't want to have that honest conversation so that we can make an informed decision about everything that's going on. We don't get those numbers until they actually publish them based upon what our apprehensions are, but they're not going to tell people what's coming up because they know that that's going to hurt them politically. It's unfortunate that our government is not telling the American people the honest truth.
A little transparency would go a long way, I think. Brandon Judd, National Border Patrol Council President, thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.